Hello, today is July 2nd, 2018. I'm Roger Veer, the CEO of Bitcoin.com. But today I want to tell you about a couple of things today, but I want to tell you about my own story about being tortured in federal prison in the United States. And I think I've told some people this face to face, but and I've been meaning to write about it and put it down to words, but I've certainly never made a video about it today, and there were a couple of things that came together that made me motivated to do it today. So one of those things is that Ross Ulbricht, the person accused of starting the Silk Road, has now been in federal prison in the United States for about 5 years. That's a long time. Think about how old you are today, and then subtract 5 years from that, and imagine if you'd been in prison that entire time, how much of your life would have slipped away because of that. And the thing that's making me motivated to record this video today is there's another person by the name of Gary Davis, who's an Irish person, been living in Ireland his whole life, never ever been to the United States, who's accused of being the moderator on the forum to discuss things about the Silk Road. And the United States government is extraditing him from Ireland. So he's going to go from Ireland to a country that he's never been to in his entire life, and he's looking at life in prison for being the moderator of a forum that allowed people to discuss things on the internet. And as someone who spent some time in federal prison, I understand just how terrifying it must be for Gary, and how terrifying it is for anybody in that sort of situation. And I guess I'm making this video because I want more people around the world to know about the sort of things that go on in federal prisons in the United States. And for those that don't know, I did 10 months in federal prison from 2002 until 2003 for selling firecrackers on eBay, back when eBay had a guns and ammo section, and it wasn't a big deal to do that at all. And in fact, the real reason that I actually went to prison is because I was busy saying things like the things that I'm going to say in this video. And politicians don't like it when you speak truth to power, and that's too bad. The truth is more important than what the politicians like, and the truth is more important than being popular with a bunch of politicians or anything like that. So anyhow, this video, I guess, is dedicated to all the people that are held in federal prison or state prison or any prison around the world, for that matter, for victimless crimes. And there's a lot of them. Don't underestimate just how many of them there are at this point. So I have quite a few stories I could tell, but I guess the one that I'll tell is when I first showed up at prison, I was allowed to choose when I would start my prison sentence. So the judge said, how much time do you need to get your affairs in order? And it's been more than a decade now, so I don't remember, maybe it was 30 or 45 days, or it was some number of days. And so I had to lay off most of my employees at my business and get everything set up so that I could go to prison. And I made the mistake of choosing to start my prison sentence on a Friday. Don't ever start your prison sentence on a Friday, and certainly don't do it on a Friday before a national holiday. And I think it was right before Memorial Day or Labor Day or something like that. And showed up on Friday morning there at Lompoc, near Santa Barbara, California, for those that are familiar with the area. And the way it works is they have to classify your security level at the prison. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm a pretty white-collar kind of guy. But my actual charge was dealing in explosives without a license. And it's worth pointing out that the criminal act isn't the selling of explosives, and these are firecrackers I bought on one website and sold on another. And the crime isn't selling the explosives, it's doing it without the license. So it's simply just not getting a permission slip to sell the firecrackers. And anybody, if you want to, I'll put a link in the description. You can read about the exact product I was selling. They were sold by Cabela Sporting Goods Catalog. It was sold by a bunch of other resellers on eBay. People all over the country were selling it. The manufacturer manufactured over 1 million of the units. I sold a few thousand of them. The manufacturer basically was just told to stop selling them. Nobody had to pay a fine or go to jail, except for me, because I spoke truth to power. Taxation is theft. The draft is the moral equivalent of kidnapping and slavery. And war is mass murder, funded by theft. So that's the truth. If you don't like it, sorry, the truth doesn't bend to whether or not we like it being the truth or not. So anyhow, showed up at federal prison there, and they were waiting to classify me. So when they haven't classified you yet, they send you to the highest security level that they have within the prison. So it's called the SHU, which stands for Special Housing Unit, which is just a euphemism for the jail within jail. So they sent me to the jail within jail there, which was a little tiny room with 3 bunk beds, so 6 people total, and a toilet and a shower with no privacy or door or anything at all around the toilet or the shower. So like absolutely no privacy whatsoever, and so little ventilation that everybody just basically strips down to their underwear and lays in their bunk because it's so hot in there just from everybody's body heat and the lack of ventilation in there. So I was there all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Normally you're allowed out for 1 hour a day, but that's on weekdays, I believe. And then Monday was a national holiday, so I didn't get out on Monday either. So I was in there for 4 or 5 days straight, and my entire world was, felt like it was being turned upside down. But my attorney representing me, the prosecuting U.S. attorney, the judge, everybody assured me that I would be going to what's called a federal prison camp, where there would just be a line on the ground that you're not supposed to go past. And they assured me that it would be just like going to summer camp, but you'll be there with a bunch of doctors, lawyers, and drug dealers. And as a kid, I loved summer camp. And I didn't really believe them that it would be just like summer camp, but I didn't think I was going to be locked in a little tiny cell 24 hours a day for the first 4 or 5 days straight with 5 other people that I didn't know at all, and absolutely no privacy, even for the restroom at all. So anyhow, I was there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Tuesday, I got out for an hour to go in the little, maybe, 8 feet by 8 feet or 6 feet by 6 feet little cyclone fence where you can get a little bit of fresh air and a little bit of sunlight. I was out in that for 1 hour and then went back. And then I think it was on Wednesday they finally got around to classifying where I would go within the prison. And they let me out of the jail within the jail. And they sent me to the prison laundry to get my prison clothes. And the prison clothes are like a khaki shirt and some khaki pants with a belt that's made out of like the life vest clicker, like plastic clips that you would imagine from a life vest on a boat for the belt. And then they gave me some big, giant, clunky work boots that who knows how many people had worn those boots before me. They had definitely seen better days. And then from the prison laundry, after I'd changed into all those clothes, which were different, I should back up a little bit too. So when I was in the jail, within the jail, they just slide your food in on a tray through a slot in the door 3 times a day. And then when you're done eating it, you slide it back out. And anytime anybody's going to come or go out of the room there, you have to put your hands behind your back and slide them through the slot in the door, and they handcuff every single person in the room before they even open or close the door to let anybody in or out of that room, which was really crazy and I guess degrading. But lots of people that have never been to prison, they think, oh, well, that's the whole point, treat people badly in prison. But the real punishment about going to prison is being separated from every single person you know in life, being completely separated from all of your family, all of your friends, from everybody you know, and being thrust into a place where you don't know anybody, and you're completely cut off from every single person you've ever known in your life. That's the real punishment from going to prison. But anyhow, so they give me the shirt and the pants and the boots, and then they tell me to go and see the prison counselor. And it's not a counselor, it's just another guard. And the prison counselor's job is to give you your bunk assignment. So they tell me to go from the prison laundry to the prison counselor, which is, 50 yards away or something, not very far at all. So I walk from the laundry to see the counselor, and I go in the room. They specifically told me to go into the room. And, it had taken quite a while for me to, come to terms that I was going to do 10 months in federal prison, and that seemed like absolute eternity. But it was certainly better than the 7 or 8 years that they had threatened me with if I didn't sign the plea agreement. So when you're looking at 7 or 8 years versus 10 months, of course, 10 months is better than 7 or 8 years. And felt like an absolute eternity. I was 22 years old. 10 months feels like forever. And it was definitely the longest 10 months of my life, even looking back on it more than 15 years later. But I walk into the counselor's office that they told me to walk into, and as soon as I walk in, the one guard that's in there, he jumps up and starts shouting at me, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! You can't come just walking in here like this. We have to search you first. Put your hands on the wall. Put your hands on the wall. We need to search you first." And the other guard is just watching him. And even the other guard looked surprised by this guy's reaction when I came into the room. But like, there's two guards, right? One guard says, "Put your hands on the wall. We have to search you." The other guard's kind of looking at him. And the one guard, I turn around and put my hands on the wall, and he starts patting me down. And as he's patting me down, I'm pretty sure that I can see something in his hand, but I'm not sure what it is, and I'm not in a position to make demands of anybody at that point. I'm a prisoner in a federal prison, but I can see there's something in his hand as he's patting me down. I'm pretty sure. And then when he gets down to these boots that I've only had on for like 2 minutes and walked maybe 50 yards in, the big, giant, clunky work boots, he pulls out this, big shank, a sharpened screwdriver. And he starts screaming at me about how, "You're coming in here with a shank. Are you trying to shank somebody? You're going to do more time for this." And I'm telling him, "It's not mine. It's not mine. I don't know where it came from." And he's screaming and yelling at me about how I have this shank and he starts telling me that I'm going to do an additional 2 years in federal prison, and 10 months already felt like forever. I'd already had a really, really rough 5 days being in the jail within jail, and I didn't really know what the overall jail experience was going to be. And he's planted a shank on me and screaming at me about how I'm going to do an additional 2 years in prison for having this shank that he put on me. And I'm telling him, "It's not mine, it's not mine." And like 10 months felt like forever. Going from 10 months, I'm only 5 days in and already having a rough time. And I think I'm going to go from 10 months to 2 years and 10 months because either this guy planted a shank on me or it was already in the boots that I had just received from the laundry a few minutes ago anyhow. And I'm telling him, "It's not mine, it's not mine. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where it came from." And he's screaming at me about how I'm going to do an additional 2 years in prison. And of course, understandably, I start to cry and the tears start running down my face because I think I'm going to be separated from my family for an additional 2 years on top of the 10 months that I had already barely come to grips with that I was going to have to do. And when he sees that enough tears are coming down my face and that I'm crying enough, he pats me on the shoulder. He goes, "Relax, I'm just kidding with you. Have a seat." And so that man just purely tortured me for his own amusement. And the other guard sat there and watched the whole thing. And I don't know exactly what went through the head of the other guard, but at that time, I got assigned to a bunk in a big, giant warehouse-sized room with, a couple hundred other people in there. That's so loud from all it's like tile floor and concrete walls, and the sound really echoes around in there, and it's like really, really difficult to sleep. And of course, no privacy there at all either. So they assigned me to the bunk there, and I, didn't hear anything more at that time. But then maybe after I'd only been in the jail maybe 3 weeks or so, they called me back to the counselor's office, and it was just the one guard that had watched the other guard torture me and bring me to tears, thinking that I'm going to do an additional 2 years in prison because he planted a shank on me. It was just, purely did that for his own amusement. But the other guard was there, and he told me, "You have a new bunk assignment." I'm still pretty new to the whole place. I don't know what that means, but he assigned me to there's a lot of jokes in prison, but they call it the private suite. It's not really a private suite, and it's not nearly as nice as it sounds, but everybody has to be an optimist in prison. So there's all sorts of things that people are optimistic about at prison, and there's like lists that go around the prison of things to be optimistic about in prison. Like the top, I think it was a top 100 list of things the good things about being in prison. And some of them, if you can have a good attitude, are kind of funny. So like an example of some of these things on the list about the best things about being in prison is you don't have to worry about what you're going to cook for dinner. You don't have to worry about what you're going to eat for dinner, right? Because you're told when you're going to eat and what you're going to eat. You don't have any choice in it. You don't have to worry about what bills to pay or any bills to pay. You don't have to worry about what to buy people for Christmas. You don't have to worry about all sorts of things, which if you can have a good sense of humor, it's kind of funny. So I guess people need to be optimistic or have a bright attitude when they're in such a bad place where the food is so horrible, and everything is not so good, to put it mildly. But anyhow, I got assigned to this other room that instead of having a couple hundred people in there and it's so loud you have to wear earplugs all the time, I was assigned to a room that only had 4 bunk beds and only 8 people in it, which was a million times better than the great big giant room that I had been in. But it caused other problems because other people thought, wait a minute, Roger's only been here for a couple of weeks. How did he get assigned to that bunk? Whereas usually you have to be there for years before you get assigned to such a good bunk assignment. And so some people were worried, is it because I'm, a rat or a narc or something like that? Or, what did I do to get that? And I don't know. But what my suspicion is, here more than 15 years later, I suspect that the one guard watched the other guard torture me and bring me to tears over lying to me, thinking that I'm going to get an additional 2 years in prison. I think the one guard that watched all that happen, I think he felt a little bit bad for me. And I think he assigned me to that bunk just because he felt bad because the other guard had tortured me. But he didn't say, and I didn't ask, and you're not really in a position to ask anybody about anything. I guess a lot of people also have this misconception that, aren't you scared of the other prisoners in prison? Didn't you have to worry about it? And maybe some people you have to watch out for a little bit, but 98%, 99% of what you have to worry about in prison it's not other prisoners, it's the guards. Because the guards are there day after day after day, year after year after year, and a lot of them are really, really bored. Some of them maybe were nice people to begin with. Maybe some of them still are nice people, but others are there just because they like treating people badly. And it's the guards that you have to be worried about in prison. It's not so much the other prisoners. And there's guards that their entire day is spent harassing the prisoners that are there and giving them a hard time about all sorts of different things. And maybe I'll tell some more stories about that sort of thing in the future. But I guess I'm glad I made the one video talking about how a guard literally planted a shank on me and lied to me, claiming that I was going to get 2 years additional prison time. And they can lie, but the guards can lie about whatever they want for whatever reason they want, and nobody's going to believe the prisoners. People will believe the guards. But I was there firsthand. I saw it. This is the truth. I guess I should tell another story. So while I was there, there were 2 times that the federal inspectors came to inspect the federal prison to make sure that the prisoners were being treated properly. And on those 2 days, those were the 2 days that had by far, not just a little bit, by far, the best food in the entire time I was there in the chow hall there, way better food than normal. And in the bathrooms there's soap dispensers and paper towel dispensers that the entire time I was there, never once did they have any soap or paper towels in them, except for the day that the federal prison inspectors came. On that particular day, wow, there was actually soap in the soap dispensers. Amazing. And there were paper towels in the paper towel dispensers. That was amazing as well. And the other side of it too, people don't realize, you can't tell that, hey, you can't tell the federal prison inspectors, hey, they're just putting on a show for you. The prison's never like this normally. Because if you complain about anything, the guards will really let you have it. They'll send you to solitary confinement. They'll send you to the jail. Within the jail, they'll give you another thing. There's another thing called diesel therapy. And you're probably thinking, what the heck is diesel therapy? What diesel therapy is where they ship you from prison to prison to prison to prison on a bus. And you ride on this bus across. They zigzag you across the country, and you're handcuffed and chained to a seat on a bus. And you live on this bus for days or weeks or even months on end as they ship you around the country because they don't like whatever you complained about or whatever it is that you caused trouble for them. And you literally live on a bus for weeks or even months on end, and that's diesel therapy. And if you complain, they'll do that sort of thing to you. So you can't really complain about anything. You can't tell anybody about anything because they'll make your life even worse. So anyhow, that's part of my prison torture story of having been tortured in prison. And I'm sure Ross Ulbricht has had some bad experiences with some guards. And I think Gary Davis, this Irish guy, and is also going to have some bad experience with guards. But part of why I wanted to tell this, and I don't know if the world knew this or not. We weren't super public about it, but we had hired Gary to help with our customer support and forum stuff, and dealing with customers at Bitcoin.com. And he's been working with us at Bitcoin.com for quite a while now, maybe a year or two, maybe even more. I'd have to check exactly when he started, but he's been a fantastic team member and a fantastic friend and just an all-around great guy. And now he's looking at life in prison in the United States, a country he's never been to, never had anything to do with, for simply helping moderate a forum on the internet that maybe talked about things that the U.S. thinks it's illegal, but it's a forum, a discussion forum where people talked about things. So anyhow, I just wanted to display my absolute, complete, and utter disgust with the American federal injustice system. And you know what? Maybe the federal injustice system of the United States is better than some other countries, but they're all pretty damn bad in my book. So, and I'm not interested in participating about it. And I'll have part 2 of this video. I'll tell you guys in part 2 about why I'm just so fed up with the United States police in general, and why I think the police in just about every country, in the United States specifically, are much worse than your normal common criminal. And look forward to part 2. Maybe I'll make that video this afternoon or another day very soon. So if you like this content, post it on your own social media, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel, spread the word, because that's all we can do. The government people have all the guns and the power for now, but that's changing. But that's all we can do. So keep spreading the truth. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you found it interesting, and tell a friend. Thank you.